So the first thing that we're going to start with really is some soft tissue work. So I want you to grab your blanket and you're going to unfold it until it looks like so. And what we're going to start with is you're just going to take it and fold it 3 times like an accordion until you have something that looks like this. Okay. And then once you have that established, you're going to lie it down, on your mat, and the fringe side will face away from you and the folded flat end will be towards the center of your mat. Cool. So Roberta, we're starting with our blanket this way, and then you're going to fold it lengthwise 3 times accordion style. Look, until you have something that looks like that. And then once you've got that blanket, you're going to lay down on the blanket, and you want your bum facing behind you. Your bum facing behind you, your butt is behind you, but you want the blanket behind you, and you're going to try to get your bottom lowest ribs to touch that blanket. And then once your bottom lowest ribs touch the blanket, you can fold the part up that's above your head underneath until it supports your neck in a way that feels good to you. And what you're looking for when you fold up that blanket to support your neck is you're looking to make sure that your chin isn't jutting up towards the sky and it's not tucking too far down towards the nape of your neck, but instead it just feels like the sternum and the chin are in one long line. Great. And then from here, I encourage you to open your arms off to the right and to the left. And you might start with having the hands, good morning, Laura. You might start with having the hands closer to the hips. You might start finding that they feel nice at shoulder height. You might find that they feel good more up and over your head. So you're going to take a moment to figure out where it feels good to have your arms. So Laura, we're starting with our blanket like this, and then you're going to fold it lengthwise 3 times to form an accordion. And then you're going to lie down with the lowest part of your ribs touching that flat end of the blanket. Great. And all you're going to do here is once you do find yourself on your back, again, it's the lowest ribs that are touching the blanket. The neck is supported by the blanket being folded up under the neck, and then the arms are out wherever it feels good to you. So they might be shoulder height, they might be a little higher, and you're going to just take 3 to 5 breaths here. And with every inhalation, I want you to think of lifting up the chest so it could come to touch your throat, so it can come to touch your chin. And with every exhale, can you soften the front ribs down towards the hip bones, and then soften the front ribs down towards your spine. So the inhale lifts the collarbones, lifts the chest up towards your head, and the exhale softens the ribs down and back. And we're just starting with this very, very gentle breath work here. One of the things that I've been paying attention to, mostly because my throat has been hurting, is I've been asking myself this esoteric question of like, oh, Jessica, have you been complaining too much? Or, oh, Jessica, have you not been listening enough? The throat from an Ayurvedic yogic perspective has to do with speaking and expression, but it also has to do with hearing. And so for our practice today, we're focusing a lot on the neck, we're focusing a lot on the throat. And the invitation that I have for you is to focus on hearing. I want you to notice what you hear in your environment. I want you to notice what you hear in terms of the body talking to you. And I want you to notice what you hear in terms of your breath, the relationship that you have between what outside stimulus is happening and what inside stimulus is happening. All right, so let's go ahead and bend your knees and plant both feet firmly on the floor. Make sure your feet are about hip distance apart, and you're going to firmly press into the feet. And I do encourage you at this point, you can keep the arms straight or you can slightly bend the elbows if the backs of the hands can still rest on the floor. And then you're going to do the smallest cats and cows in your pelvis that you ever thought possible. So when you inhale, you're going to think of reaching your pubic bone forward towards your feet. And as you exhale, you'll start to round the low back and maybe lift your butt 2 to 3 inches away from the floor. And then inhale, put the butt down, reach the pubic bone forward. And then exhale, lightly press into the feet, round through the spine, maybe lift the pelvis 2 to 3 inches off the mat. And you're going to repeat this about 4 to 5 more times. And the invitation is every time you start to lie your spine back down, can you try to lie each vertebra down, bone by bone? And every time, excuse me, you lift your pelvis up and away from the floor, can you keep drawing those front ribs in towards the spine and down towards the pelvis? And so you'll take about another 2 to 3 of these on your own. And as we continue in this movement, you might gradually start to make this movement bigger. So maybe you lift more up and towards what you would think of as a bridge shape. But again, those front ribs keep pulling down towards the floor and down towards the blanket. So you only go as high as you can with the hips, keeping the front ribs drawing down. And then you go slowly as you lower the spine back down. And we'll just take about 4 more of those. So you're inhaling, pressing through the feet, lifting the pelvis up. Again, as high as you want, but you're drawing those front ribs towards the pelvis and back towards the floor. And then you're exhaling slowly, lowering the spine down bone by bone by bone by bone. And we'll take one more set just like this, doing these mini fake bridges. And the next time your bum comes back down, I want you to take a moment to pause and breathe there. And then unroll that blanket so it's flat against the floor and there's nothing elevating your head at all. So you're going to stay on the blanket. You're just removing whatever prop you have underneath your head. Great. And then with the feet hip distance apart, let's go ahead and cactus the arms out to the right and to the left. If the backs of the hands are resting there comfortably, stay there. If not, open the arms back into the T shape. And then from here, you're going to inhale, push through the feet, slowly roll up the spine. Keep drawing the front ribs back and down. And when you get to the height of your bridge, I want you to pause there. Again, we're going to press into the feet as we always do. But for today, I want you to inhale and lift your heart, lift your chest, lift your collarbones up towards your throat. And as you exhale, press the backs of the shoulder blades down into the floor and draw them towards your feet. Inhale, see if you can lift the sternum, the collarbones a little bit more. Exhale, soften the front ribs towards your hips and back towards your spine. And you've got 3 more like that. So you're inhaling, maybe lifting the spine a little bit more. The exhaling is softening the front ribs, pressing the shoulder blades down. And you're just noticing this small, gentle work. You're continuing to press evenly into the back of your head, pressing evenly into all 4 corners of your feet, or tripod on your feet, depending upon how you think about this. And you've got 1 more steady breath cycle here, inhaling, lifting the collarbones and the heart, exhaling, pressing the back body into the floor. Awesome. So listen very closely. On your next in-breath, again, you lift the collarbones. As you exhale, you're going to start to slowly roll down the spine until you feel something change in your neck. When you do, you'll pause there. You'll take another breath in, and then you'll exhale and start to slowly roll down until you again feel something change in your neck. And you'll repeat this probably like 5 times until you get your butt all the way back down to the floor. And you're just noticing those small incremental changes happening in our throat. I mean, from an esoteric standpoint, it's like oftentimes we're not listening. And so we're speaking and acting and doing things that aren't always in alignment with where we need to be. But if we can slow down and pause for a little bit, we'll find that. Awesome sauce. And then once your bum finally touches the floor, just take a big breath in and take a big breath out. You might keep your arms as they are or try a different orientation with them. So you might then draw the arms out to a T shape. You might draw them closer towards your pelvis. You might cactus them if you haven't, but we're going to repeat that one more time. So inhale, press through the feet, lift all the way up back to that bridge pose. And you'll take about 3 breath cycles here, exhaling, pressing the backs of the shoulder blades back of the skull, feet into the floor. Inhale, the collarbones lift towards your chin. Exhale, soften those front ribs in. Inhale again, lift the collarbones, lift the rib cage, lift the upper chest. Exhale, soften any tension around the rib cage, lengthen your tailbone forward towards your knees. Last one, big breath in, lifting up through the heart space. And then exhale, pressing the back body into the floor. Now, just as we did before, you're going to slowly start to descend. So the inhale, you find more length. And then exhale, bone by bone, you're going to lower the spine down. And I want you to move super slowly. And the first time you notice something alter in your neck or those front ribs flare, you pause, you take a breath and you inhale. You exhale and you see if you can soften more of the back body to the floor. And it might take you 5 breath cycles to slowly get all the way back down. This is a lot of really small incremental work, and you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice as you get all the way back down. Nice work, guys. And this should probably be your last exhalation. Once your pelvis hits the floor, go ahead and take a breath in there. Exhale here. And then bring your hands alongside your hips. Now with your hands alongside your hips, this is again going to be really small. I want everyone to think of reaching your pubic bone forward so it feels like there's a low back arch. Now from there, draw your front ribs down into that blanket and down towards your pelvis. Keep that. Lift the collarbones and sternum so that'll draw the shoulder blades more onto the back, and lightly press the back of your head into the blanket. Now, keeping all of that, I want you to inhale and slowly reach your arms forward and up and overhead without letting your ribs pop away from the floor. So your arms might not touch the floor behind you, and that's okay. And then you'll exhale and lower them back down. And you'll do this about 4 or 5 times. And as you lift and lower the arms, I want you to notice if you can move slow enough so that you can see if the right thumb and the left thumb reach towards the floor at the same rate, or if one drops faster than the other. And as you do this, I want you to move slow enough that you can feel yourself breathing into the back of the body. And then I want you to notice if you're grimacing around your mouth, if they're clenching in your jaw. And then this next time your arms reach up and overhead, we're going to pause there. And they might not actually reach up and overhead. For me, I find that even though I have a lot of mobility, my hands don't touch the floor. They're almost like a couple inches away from the floor if I'm actually keeping my ribs knit. And then from there, I want you to arch your spine just a little bit so your pubic bone goes forward. Hug those front ribs in and back towards the blanket. And then everyone lift your hands 1 inch higher than they are. So they're now hovering off the floor if they're not. I want you to wrap your shoulder blades wide onto your back. Lift the collarbones as you breathe in. Push your skull back as you breathe out. And you'll take 1 more breath cycle here. On your next exhalation, slowly lower the hands back alongside your hips. Yep. Once your hands come alongside your hips, just extend your right arm alongside your ears. Roll over onto your right side. Continue to roll until you find yourself up onto your hands and your knees. You can go ahead and remove that blanket off to the side, and I do encourage you to put both blocks towards the upper outer corners of your mat. And then you'll just take a moment to take a few cats and cows here. And with your cats and with your cows, you're just going to observe and notice what that feels like here. Nice work, guys. And then the next time you find yourself in that cow shape position, please stay there. Now, first thing we're going to do in our cow shape is I want you to drop your head. So draw your chin towards your chest. I want you to drop your belly even more. Pay attention to your hands and push down through all 10 fingertips. See if you can draw more weight into your fingertips than into the wrists of your hands. Straighten both sets of arm bones so they're stacked right on top of each other. And then see if you can let the heart melt through the energizing of your arms. Now you might start to feel stuff happen in your shoulders and your neck and the backs of your arms, but you're going to keep pressing into those fingertips. You're going to keep those arms straight and you're going to breathe. And I want you to then start to listen internally. What do you notice is happening inside of the body? As that head continues to drop, as the belly continues to drop, as the shoulders sort of kiss each other on the back, the body might start to feel things. This is, again, a functional movement exercise from Pete Agoscu. He says it helps a lot with posture. And since we're focusing on the throat, of course, we have to do this. And so the next 3 to 5 breaths, I just want you to breathe. I want you to notice where you can soften. I notice what you can listen to internally. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you will turn the eyes of the elbows forward and back, still pressing into the hands like you're opening a jar of pickles. And with that head still dropping, you might begin to find stuff happening in the shoulder blades, in the neck, in the upper thoracic spine. Cool. After you've done about 5 to 6 of those, you'll go ahead and pause. Tuck both sets of toes under. Start to press your butt back towards your heels. Walk your hands back towards your pelvis and sit up for toe squat. And once we find ourselves in toe squat, we're going to pay attention today, particularly to what's happening in our spine. So I want you to really think of sticking your butt back behind you. We're going to pretend we're Beyonce or Miley Cyrus twerking. Our butt is really far back behind you, so it feels like you've got an arch in your spine. And then from there, I want you to see if you can bring your hands to your front ribs. And so keeping your butt behind you, see if you can hug your front ribs into each other. So butt doesn't suddenly curl under, butt stays back, but front ribs come in. And then I want you to bring one hand to your head, keep the other hand on your rib. See if you can keep those front ribs drawing in and back, but push your head back into your hands. And if you feel like you can keep all that, still keeping your butt behind you, still drawing your front ribs in and back, you can draw both hands to the back of your head. Now with both hands there, if you've got them there, hook your thumbs around the occipital bones. Those are the bones of the back of your head. Pull them forward and up. Keep drawing your front ribs down and back. Your pelvis still is behind you, or rather your butt is behind you. And you might start to lift the heart up. You might start to lift the gaze up, but those front ribs are still drawing in and back. Awesome sauce. Nice. When you're ready, you can release that. We're going to take some wrist circles here while we're holding out our time in toe squat. We got about another 30 seconds. And so you'll go one way, and then you'll go the other. And I want you to see if you're breathing and notice how you're breathing. Maybe take some opens and closes of the hands too. And then when you're complete with this, you're going to come forward on hands and knees, pitter patter the tops of your toes, and then take a counter stretch if you'd like. And we're just really going to move quite deliberately to pay attention to what's happening in our head, what's happening in our throat. And so after you've done your counter stretches, you'll go ahead and draw yourself forward once again. Nice work, guys. Okay, so we're going to see how this is going to work out. From tabletop, everyone walk your hands one handprint forward. Curl both sets of toes under and then walk one foot back and the other foot back to find yourself in plank. Okay, once we find ourselves in plank, again, the whole focus of today is on your throat. It's on your neck. So I want you to first push down into your hands a lot like we did before. Now, find that arch in your low back, like you're sticking your butt back. So you're having a Beyonce, yep. Now from there, I want you to draw your front ribs in towards your spine and down towards your pelvis without altering your pelvis. Great, keep that. Draw your sternum forward towards your chin. So those front ribs are still the same. And then everyone see if you can lift the back of your head like you were pressing it into the floor when we were in that bridge shape. Ha-ha, nice work. And then you're gonna just take 3 breath cycles here and see what you can soften, keeping this alignment of your spine. So those front ribs are drawing in and back. The tailbone is still reaching back, so it's back behind you to keep neutral spine. And then at the end of your next exhalation, gently bend your knees, lift your pelvis up and back, and find yourself in downward facing dog. And in down dog, I encourage you to move around for this first bit. So you might just slowly bend one knee. You might just slowly bend the other knee. You might shift your pelvis a little right or a little left. And again, you're listening internally. You're seeing what the body's telling you. You're seeing how you're responding to this. And when you've gotten your wiggles out, go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Now, just as we did before, I want you to press down into the tips of your fingertips and make the heels of your hands light. Excuse me. And then I want you to see if you can draw your ears in line with your arm bones. So for many of you, that means your head has to come slightly away from your thighs, slightly away from your feet. And then see if you can wrap those shoulder blades onto the back wide. Yeah. And then from there, push the shoulders down and forward, lift the hips up and back. And then draw those front ribs in and back. Nice work. See if you can keep all that. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back behind you. Yeah, nice job, guys. As you exhale, bend the knee and draw the foot quietly between your hands. Perfect. From here, you might want to take that blanket and pad your back knee. You might not. It's totally up to you, but you're going to lower your back knee down to the floor. Take a moment to pause there. Push into your right foot. So sometimes it helps if you lift all 5 toes of the right foot up. Push from your right sit bone to your right heel. Push into your left foot. Drag those points together and start to bring your spine vertical. Bring both hands to rest on the center of your right thigh. Okay. And then what you're going to do from here is, again, push into your back knee, push into your back foot, suck those points together. Inhale, pull out of the shape just a little. And then exhale, press your pelvis forward towards your right leg. And you've got about 4 of these. Inhaling, coming out. And then exhaling, descending in. And you can go as far as you want. But again, we're trying to keep our points of contact with the floor engaged as we come in and as we go out of this shape. Awesome. The next time you come forward, you're going to pause there. Now, again, just like we did before, it feels like your butt goes back. Pull your front ribs in and bring your hands to the back of your head. This time, I want you to push your head into your hands into your head, lift your elbows up towards the sky, lift your head up towards the sky, and you can stay right here happy as a clam. Otherwise, you might extend your right arm out to the right, and we're going to keep our right arm super active. And this is what we're going to call I'm a little teapot for today. So you're going to shift your butt slightly to the left as you reach your right arm to the right, and we're going to take a side bend to the right. But you're still squeezing your feet and hips together. You're drawing your hips slightly towards the left. You're reaching out actively through that right arm. You're pushing your head into your left hand, and then you're breathing. Awesome sauce. Next in-breath, push into your head to come back up to vertical. As you exhale, both hands come to the front of your mat. Tuck the back toes under. Step your back foot slightly forward and to the left and prepare for warrior one. Pause there in warrior one and see if it can be a long stance. And then before you come up, you're going to still bend in that front knee. Yeah. From here, push into your back foot and then bring yourself up for Virabhadrasana 1, warrior one. Cool. Let's pause. Everyone bring your hands to your hips. In your long warrior one, I want you to draw your right hip back. So that's the front knee. Draw that hip back and in. I want all of you to press your left pinky toe, that's your back foot, into the floor and see if you can lift your left arch up and away from the floor. From here, stick your butt back behind you like you're having a Beyonce moment. Sounds really weird, but you're gonna really stick your pelvis back behind you. And then with the pelvis back behind you, see if you can draw your front ribs in. With the front ribs in, see if you can lift up through the back of your head as though you did, or as you did when you had your arms or hands at the back of your head. And then release your palms alongside your hips. Now on your next in-breath, slowly reach the arms out and up without letting your ribs flare until your arms come up and over your head for Virabhadrasana 1. And so we're trying to make sure our ribs don't flare and we go super far, but we're actually trying to find that connection between our thoracic spine and our cervical spine. And then once you're there, see if you can continue to bend into the front knee a lot. See if you can continue to press into the back edge of the back foot, and you might start to feel a stretch coming over the front of your left thigh, as well as this weird stretch happening in your latissimus dorsi. Now, if you're happy as a clam there, you stay there. Some of you will cactus your arms, hug your elbows towards each other, wrap your left elbow underneath your right over the left, and maybe double clasp the arms. Now that you've got these eagle arms, I want you to pay attention to your neck again. So the elbows come forward. See if you can lift the backs of the shoulder blades up, draw the back of the head back, and notice what's happening in the collarbones. Are you breathing? Is there softness in your neck? The end of your next exhale, you'll take a big breath in, unwind the arms, reach them up and overhead, Virabhadrasana 1. And then exhale, frame the front foot. Pause here, pivot to the ball of your back foot, step back, plank pose. Great. Take a long, slow, steady breath here. As you're ready, you're going to reach forward and lower slower than you want to the floor. And I mean like super slow. And I want you to notice if your right chest and left chest touch at the same time, your right hip and left hip touch at the same time, if your head stays away from the floor. So you're going to lower slower than you want to in one piece all the way down. Ha-ha, good job, guys. Once you get down to the floor, we'll take a moment to pause here. Bring your hands underneath your forehead for heads up, 7-up style. Let your toes just splay in, and I want you to pay attention now to your back. And I want you to pay attention to your belly. And I want you to pay attention to your front ribs. And you're just going to take 3 to 5 breaths here, and you're just going to notice what you notice. So we're going to start to activate the head and the neck in a little bit more of an active way. But before we do that, I want you to notice if you can find the neutral curves of your spine here. So letting the lumbar spine have its curve, letting those front ribs still hug down towards the pelvis and in towards the spine, which is in a slightly different orientation here. Awesome. Cool. Now, as you're ready, I want you to activate your legs and turn your legs parallel towards one another. So the toenails press into the floor. Keep that low back as long as it possibly can. And then without doing too much, just lift your head 2 to 3 millimeters away from your hands. With the head 2 to 3 millimeters away from the hands, pull your sternum forward, lengthen out through your neck on the front and the back, and see if you can reach the toes back into the floor even more. Awesome. Lower down. And we'll do that one more time. You might lift a little bit higher this time, but you're focusing on not letting those front ribs flare when you do this and not letting the low back clench when you do this. So it stays long. Awesome. And then you'll gently lower back down. Okay. 3rd time's the charm. Go ahead and inhale, lift your head about maybe an inch or 2 this time. Press into the tops of the feet. Notice if those front ribs are still drawing in towards the spine and down towards the pelvis. Notice if that pelvis is still rooted into the floor and the low back is still long. Keeping your head hovering, bring your hands alongside your ribs, thumbs roughly in line with your nipples. Great. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Pay attention to how long your neck is. Pay attention to how long your low back is. Push down into your hands and pull your sternum forward a smidge. And you can come as high as you want, but your impetus here is to focus on the low back staying long the front of the neck and the back of the neck being the same length. So, yep. And then once you're there, pause there, push into your right hand, drop your left ear over towards your left shoulder. And then you might just pull back more with that right hand. You might turn your chin a little one way or the other, but we're trying to find a nice stretch happening on the side, the right side of the throat. Push into that right hand. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and inhale and come back through center. And then exhale, you're going to push into your left hand. Draw the right ear over towards the right. And then again, you're noticing what's happening here. You're isometrically pulling that hand back. You're keeping the legs long and active. Yeah. One more breath. Next in-breath, come back through center. And as you exhale, lower down. Curl both sets of toes. Oh, looks like we need a breath. Okay. Curl both sets of toes under. One motion. Inhale, come up through hands and knees or plank. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. Great. Now again, in down dog, make sure your ears are in line with your arms. Slightly draw your chin towards your chest. Yep. Draw your front ribs to your back body and send your behind you so it feels like you're flaring your sit bones. Keep that. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Again, take a moment to pause. Maybe you pad that back knee as you lower the right knee down to the mat. From there, before you come up, I want you to see if you can activate your left foot and your right knee. Engage those to bring the spine up to vertical. Bring both hands onto the center of that left thigh. Again, push into your left foot, push into your right knee, suck those points together. Inhale, pull out of the shape just a little, and then exhale, draw your whole pelvis forward towards your left heel. And then inhale, come out, and exhale, go forward. And you've got about 4 of those. So you're slightly coming out, and then you're going back in. And we're trying to just keep all of that sort of happening in a small but effective way. Awesome. The next time you come forward, we're going to stay there. Now, again, I want you to draw your front ribs back, bring your head or hands to the back of your head and push your head into your hands into your head. Feels like your elbows are going up in a V shape, and that allows more length in the cervical spine. Option is stay right here, still pushing into foot, still pushing into knee. Otherwise, left hand can extend out to the left. Slightly bump your hips to the right as you actively reach out through that left hand and push your right hand into your head into your hands. And we're trying to make this more of a side lateral bend versus a back bend. So if you keep hugging your front ribs in, you'll find this crazy stretch going along the outside, maybe cross the front of your hip on the right side. Awesome sauce. On your next in-breath, push into the head to come back up to vertical. As you exhale, hands come down to the floor. Tuck the back toes under, step the foot forward and slightly to the right, and pause there. Straighten the back leg long, and then we're going to come up for Virabhadrasana 1. Yeah, nice work, guys. And then just as we did before, for Warrior 1, let's start by taking our hands out of the equation. So bring your hands to your hips. Make sure you've got a long stance front to back, and you're going to bend into that left knee. Draw the outer left hip back and in. Yep, stick your behind you. And then with the behind you, see if you can draw those front ribs in and back. Maybe draw your head back like you're hugging onto your occipital bones. And then when you're ready with that, hands can open out to the side. From there, without letting anything change in your rib cage, you'll start to slowly reach your arms out and up and overhead. And they might not get there. That's okay. They might not be perfectly over your head. And then if you'd like, paying attention to all that, you'll see if you can breathe. So the collarbones still lift as you inhale. The head draws back slightly. The front knee bends even more and you're pressing like crazy. Didn't tell you on the side, press like crazy on your right pinky toe. So that's the back foot, and lift that inner right arch. Yeah, now you can stay there if you'd like, or you can cactus your elbows. And then this time the right elbow will come underneath, the left arm will come on top, maybe double wrap the arms. And then again, the elbows are drawing forward. The chin comes slightly towards the nape of your neck, but it also allows the back of the skull to press straight back. So the neck stays long and open. Nice work, guys. Continue to bend into that front knee. On your next in-breath, gently unwind the arms and return to normal Virabhadrasana 1. And then as you exhale, frame the front foot. Pivot to the ball of the back foot and step back plank pose. Great. Now this time, as you inhale, you're going to shift your weight forward just a smidge, and slower than you want to, lower down, 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 down. Keep your heads lifted. Notice if the chest, the hips, and the heart all touch at the same time. And then you'll slowly peel yourself up into cobra. But again, you're pressing into the tops of the feet. The impetus is keeping the neck as long as possible. The sternum is lifting, but the front ribs are drawing in and up. Yes, nice job, guys. So don't lift the head too much. That chin still keeps drawing in. And then you'll exhale and lower all the way down. Curl the toes under. Inhale in one motion, hands and knees or plank. Yep. Exhale, downward facing dog. Great. Let's add on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Pause here. Keep your hands on the floor or blocks. Spin your back foot to the floor for warrior 2. Stay here. Long, long, long warrior 2. When you're ready, you're going to come up to warrior 2. And for today, let's bring our hands to our hips. So again, slightly turning your torso to the left, I want you to close your eyes and figure out where you need to face your torso in order for it to feel like your butt is behind you, literally behind you. Sounds so bizarre because you might notice that that left, like your left shoulder is coming more towards the top of your mat than facing the lateral edge of your mat, and that's okay. So we're still working for warrior 2, but I want you to put your sacrum where it feels like it needs to go. And then once you found that spot, hands can come to the front ribs. So behind is behind you. Draw the front ribs in and back. Great. From there, see if you can draw the shoulder blades onto the back without losing the front ribs drawing down. And then if you can keep all that open, both arms out, right to left. From there, let's all turn our palms to face up in our warrior 2 for today. And then see if you can have the gaze come over your front arm, front hand. Yep. Bend into the back or the front knee even more. Yeah. From here, let's reach out through our right hand. Bring our right hand to the inside edge of our right thigh, palm faces away from you. And then slowly reach your left arm forward and along the horizon until it comes alongside your ears. Perfect. Now, if your bum is still back behind you and your front ribs are drawing in, there's a rotation happening in the rib cage, and you might find this really crazy lateral stretch happening on the top of your left hip. And you're continuing to breathe. You're drawing the right shoulder blade away from the right ear and under and forward, and you're breathing underneath that left armpit. Nice job, guys. On your next in-breath, slide the left arm along the horizon and return back to warrior 2. Keep the bend in the front knee. Draw your left hand to your right front ribs. Draw your right hand to the back of your head. Now do a side bend, pushing your head into your hands, keeping your front ribs in and back, and a little variation here. So you're leaning back towards your left leg, but you're not letting your front ribs pop open. Yeah. Awesome. If you think you can keep that, you might release the left hand to the back of the left thigh. You might extend the right arm and find yourself in reverse warrior. Yep. On your next in-breath, return to warrior 2. And as you exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Take a moment to pause, low lunge. Pause here, step back to plank. Awesome. So from plank, we're gonna go through chaturanga into up dog, but I want you to move slower than you think you can. So you're gonna inhale and come forward. Once those elbows are bent to about a 90-degree angle, you'll shift the weight forward, coming into up dog, but you're paying attention to what's happening in the throat. And you're gonna pause there once you get to up dog. The legs are active, the shoulder blades are drawing down against the back, and notice what's happening in the throat. Is your chin jutting forward? Is it tucking in, or is it long? Nice. And then when you're ready, make your way back to downward facing dog, 3 breaths. Now, once you're in this downward facing dog, notice where your head is. Notice where your neck is. A lot of times I feel like we don't listen because our heads are not aligned with our heart. Our minds are not aligned with our heart, and our throat is that channel between our mind and between our heart. And if we're always talking, or if we're always allowing our head to lead the way, we can't listen to the message of our heart. And so that's all we're trying to do, is trying to bring our head back a little bit so it can follow the guidance that comes from the heart space. Because I mean, it's really funny to me that according to science, there are more messages sent from your body to your brain than from your brain to your body. So we want to get our head and our heart back in alignment, and that requires that we bring our throat, our neck back into alignment. All right, let's try the next one. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, quietly step that foot between your hands. Hands might come to blocks. You'll pause here for a moment and spin the back foot down for warrior 2. And I do encourage you to take your time to get here. When you're ready, your hands will come to your hips and you'll come to Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. And then again, close your eyes. So even though technically the torso should spin towards the right, I want you to close your eyes and notice what's actually happening for you. Where do you have to be to have your behind you? How does that front leg need to rotate? How does the back leg need to work? How does the back leg need to internally rotate to have that happen? And then once your behind is behind you, both hands come to the front of your low ribs, or front low ribs. Draw them down towards your hips and back towards the spine. If you feel like you can keep all that, draw the shoulder blades onto the back and lift the sternum up. Lift up through the throat and push the back of the head back. And then from there, you can open the arms out to the side, turn the palms to face up. And then you might take your gaze over that left hand as you find yourself in whatever warrior 2 is happening to look like today. Great. From here, keep reaching through both hands, but reach more through the left. Lower the left hand to the inside edge of the left thigh, palm faces away, and then slowly sweep your right arm along the horizon until it's alongside your ears. Now, as you're coming in this way, again, behind you. So it feels weird, yep. Then draw the front ribs in and back. And then with the shoulder blades drawing onto the back body, you can rotate those left ribs under the right ribs up. And that left shoulder blade, that's the one that's the bent elbow underneath you, make sure that it is engaged as well. So we're not collapsing there, we're lifting, it's engaged. Yeah, nice job, guys. And then notice if you press into the back of the head that maybe you can peek underneath that right elbow, right armpit. But again, breathe. Notice what's happening in the throat as you do this. Next in breath, sweep that right arm back. So just reverse the motion, come back to warrior 2. Awesome sauce. Bring the right hand to the left low ribs. Bring the left hand to the back of the left head. Close the front ribs, pull the head with the hands, and then take your little side bend towards the right leg. And you might find that you stay there, just hugging the front ribs into the back body. You might release the right hand to the back of the right leg. You might extend the left arm alongside the ears and find yourself in reverse warrior. but you're just pausing and you're breathing. Nice work, guys. On your next in-breath, slowly return to warrior two. And as you exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Pause in that low lunge. Yep, and then step back to plank pose. Great. Listen closely. You are going to shift your weight forward slower than you want through, coming through chaturanga into your up dog. And you're paying attention to how you're descending, keeping your head lifted, yep. And then maybe take 2 or 3 breaths in your up dog. And this time in your up dog, pay attention to how the feet are planting into the floor. How are the hands pressing into the floor? How are the shoulder blades hugging on the back? How are those front ribs drawing in and back? On your next exhale, make your way back to downward facing dog. Alrighty. Okay. Everyone, notice what's happening with your throat and your neck in down dog. Are your ears in alignment with the eye? Yeah, with your arm bones. Great. Now we're going to take a hop forward today, but before we hop forward today, I want everyone to press the tips of your fingers into the floor. I want you to notice how the shoulder blades can wrap onto the back and they can push down and forward towards the hands. Now, as best as you can, keep the engagement in the shoulder blades, keep the engagement on the back. You'll take a big breath in. As you exhale, bend the knees, empty the belly, hop towards your hands. Ha! Yay, good job. Okay, once you get there, separate your feet hip distance apart, or if you'd like, you can slide a block between your shin bones. It's totally up to you. And then we're going to try this once again. So you're going to inhale, reach your heart and sternum forward, bend your knees as much as you need to send your behind you and find your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Yep. And then exhale, fold all the way in. Okay, we'll do that one more time. Inhale, come forward, halfway lift, behind you. Pause here. Draw your front ribs towards your pelvis and back towards your spine. Reach your sternum towards your chin. Lengthen out through your ears like somebody has their hands on your occipital bones. Now, as you're ready, release your hands alongside your hips. So arms just parallel to the floor, arms alongside the hips. Yep. Bend your knees. Bend your knees. And then start to sit your butt down, bring your spine up to vertical, keeping the arms as they are. Great. So we're going to push down into our feet. Our behinds are behind us. Everyone draw your front ribs in and back and down towards your pelvis. And then without altering that, sweep your arms forward and up and overhead. And they might reach all the way up. They might not. That's awesome. Now continue to push down into your big toes and your pinky toes. Continue to hug those outer edges of your hips in. Now with your behind staying behind you, hug those front ribs in and see if you can lift the sternum up, the shoulder blades up. Oh, nice job, guys. Next in-breath, you'll stand up, you'll reach up, you'll look up, hooray! And then exhale, open the arms out to the side. Take a moment to soften the eyes or close the gaze down completely. And this is going to sound super weird, mostly because this is not how most of us stand, but I want you to stick your behind back behind you. It'll feel like you're doing a little bit of a forward fold at your hips. Just a smidge, yep. With your behind back behind you now, draw your front ribs in and back. Keeping that, draw the shoulder blades on the back and slightly hug together, and then lift your sternum up. Push the head straight back. Now, according to anatomy, this is what a straight spine should feel like. So soften the front ribs, closing that down. And just take a moment to pause and to breathe here. It might not feel normal. It might not feel like what you're used to, but we've been spending the whole practice to figure out how to stand up straight, how to get our gut, which is really has a lot of neurons there as well and tells us a lot about what we're feeling, in alignment with our heart, which tells us what we're wanting with what we're needing, in alignment with our throat, which is that expression point where we can state what we need and hear what we need, and then with our mind so we can figure out how to actually make that happen. And so you'll just take 1 to 2 more breath cycles here to try to sense what you sense so that you can better actualize whatever it is you think that you want or whatever it is that you actually need in your life, and get the brain to help you figure out how to actually get there. Awesome. All right. If your eyes are closed, start to open your eyes. If you've got that block in between your shin bones, please go ahead and remove it. And then we're going to set ourselves up for Garudasana, eagle pose. Happy days. Hopefully we can fly with this. Okay. And so with our feet hip distance apart, we're again going to bend our knees. I want you to stick your behind back behind you. I know that's our theme of today. And then hug those front ribs in and back. For today, hands can stay on the hips if they'd like, or you can open the arms out. You'll wrap your left arm underneath, your right arm on top, and maybe double wrap the arms. Again, shifting the weight over to your right leg, you're going to make the left leg light. Start to lift the left knee, reach it up and around. And the left toes might touch the floor on the right side. They might hook behind the back of your left calf, but you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe there. And again, behind you, front ribs drawing back, elbows drawing forward, head lifting, back of skull drawing away from your thumbs. Nice work. If you're happy as a clam, you stay here. Otherwise, you might start to just gently unwind, release that left leg, and start to kick the left leg back. And we're moving super, super, super duper slowly. What's most important is if you're breathing. What's next important is if you're paying attention to how you're breathing. And then the third one is how that neck is doing with all of this. Nice job, guys. As you're ready, you'll gently unwind and come back to Tadasana, or you'll just simply step forward and come back to Tadasana. And you'll just take a moment to pause, and you'll take a moment to breathe, and you'll notice what you notice. How's the body? How's the breath? Awesome sauce. All right, let's try that on the other side. So let's have our hands on our hips just to begin. Bend your knees, stick your behind you, draw those front ribs in and back, and then hands can stay here or arms can open out. From there, you will wrap the right arm underneath this time, left arm on top. Again, you'll start to shift your weight into your left leg. Start to make that right leg super light. The right leg will cross over. Maybe the toes will just tap the floor on the left. Maybe they'll wrap behind the left leg. Again, we're pressing into that left leg. We're pushing the right knee into the left knee into the right. The behind stays behind you. The front ribs draw in and back, and the elbows come forward. And you might stay here just lengthening through the neck and spine and feeling how that feels. You might gently unwind the right leg and start to kick the right foot back, start to reach the arms forward, coming into our Eagle Warrior 3. But again, you're just paying attention. How's the breath? How's the body? How's the neck? Yep. Very gently, if you're still in Eagle, you'll unwrap and come to Tadasana. If you're in that Warrior 3, you'll step forward and you'll take a moment to pause and soften your gaze and close your eyes and notice what you notice. So we started off very slow. We started off very gentle. And then suddenly we had something that required all of us to come in high impact, high intensity. How did we do? There's a saying that smooth is steady and steady is smooth. And so we're just trying to work with that no matter what's going on. All right. If you'd like, you can go ahead and try it one more time, and then we're going to go ahead and move on. So as you're ready, give it a shot. Try it one more time, whichever variation or version you'd like. So maybe you go back and you do Eagle again. Maybe you try to fly your Eagle. But I encourage you to just pay attention to how you're feeling as you do it, how you're breathing as you do it, what you're saying internally as you do it. Yeah, nice job, guys. Nice work, guys. Love all the variations. And then when you're ready, you'll gently come out and you'll try the other side. Yeah. Yep. And when you're ready, you try the other side. Oh, I'm loving this. You guys are inspirational. Great. And you've got about 2 more breaths if you're playing with the other side. Yep. And then we'll make our way back to stand at the top of our space. And I want you to once again close your eyes and just notice. Okay. Close your eyes and just notice. Sometimes being still is the hardest thing for many of us to do because, we become aware of all the racings that's happening. And we have to take the time and the opportunity to listen below all the racing thoughts to the real signal beneath the noise. All right. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, just fold forward at your hips. Great. Once you're there, bend your knees, plant your palms, and go ahead and step yourself back to downward facing dog. Great. From down dog, you'll glide yourselves forward into plank. You'll slower than you want to lower through chaturanga, maybe come into an up dog or cobra, but move slower than you want to so that you can really notice the right and the left side so that that head stays lifted away from the floor the whole time. And then after you've done your up dog, you'll return to down dog for 3 breaths before making your way to child's pose. And in this last down dog, pay attention to the relationship of your head, your neck, your rib cage, your low back, and your pelvis. Awesome. And after your 3 breaths in your down dog, you'll make your way to child's pose. And your arms are wherever you need them in child's pose. So maybe it feels good to have them forward. Maybe it feels good to have them back. Maybe it feels good to have them bent and the hands coming towards the nape of the neck. But you just allow the arms to be wherever they need to be. Awesome. You got 2 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you're going to gently come out of this shape. And we're going to make our way onto our backs. And so you can start wrapping up here, but our final shape will require a little bit of setup. So we're not going to lay down completely. So you're just going to lay onto your backs. Just lay down on your back. And so this is technically the first time in our whole class that we've actually been flat. So if you want to feel what this feels like, you might extend your legs long and notice what that feels like. And then you might turn your palms to face the sky and notice what that feels like. And then I want you to notice what it feels like to draw the shoulders away from the ears and onto the back body and seeing if that lifts the heart. And then notice what adjustments then you need to make into the head. And then notice if that requires that you make an adjustment in your pelvis. And you just notice all these things are connected. Okay. And you'll just take 3 more breath cycles here. And the invitation is to just observe, to notice what you notice. I've been reading this book for the past few weeks now called Radical Acceptance of Everything. And basically, there are these 2 therapists talking about a technique called focusing. And the focusing technique for therapists really just requires that you be present to whatever is and to recognize that that's only some aspect of your being. It's not the entirety of you, it's just some part. And the more that we can listen to these variant parts, these disparate parts of ourselves, and allow them to just be as they are, it sort of gives us permission to soften and open and release in ways that we wouldn't expect, and in ways that forcing things to be other than they are doesn't always help. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Open your arms out to the right and to the left in a T shape. Bend both of your knees and plant your feet firmly on the floor. All right, let's lift our right leg up towards the sky. Cross your right leg over the left like you're sitting in a cute dress. And then press into the left foot, lift your pelvis up and slide your pelvis over towards the right. Yep, put your butt back down. And then you can slowly let both legs fall over to the left. And I want you to move as slow as possible. I know that sounds really crazy, but just move as slow as possible. And once your legs start their descent over to the left, I want you to start to observe what's happening in that right hip. So that's the top hip. See if it's creaking up towards your neck, and think of somebody gently pulling that right hip away from your right shoulder. So again, it's like sticking your behind back behind you. It'll create a little arch in the low back, but it'll also create some space on the underside, which in this case is your left side. And then you might press the back of your head into the floor just a smidge, lift the left shoulder blade up and slide it a smidge to the left. And then notice if that allows the right shoulder blade to soften more towards the floor. And then pay attention to what's happening in the throat and the neck here. Does the head want to look towards the left? Does the head want to look straight up? Does the head want to look towards the right? And we're going to be here for about a minute. We generally don't spend this much time in a supine twist, but you're just going to be here for a minute. And I want you to listen to the internal unwinding of the body. Notice what's happening in the breath. Particularly pay attention to what's happening in your nerve plexus in your gut. Apparently there are 30,000 nerve endings in your stomach. So just pay attention to what's happening there. The fun fact I like to remember about that is that's more than what's in a cat's brain. Got more nerve plexuses in your stomach than a cat does in its brain. And so you're just listening and you're breathing and you're responding based upon what you're sensing versus what you think you should be doing. And we've got about 3 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll take a big breath in and gently unwind and come back onto your back. Take a moment to pause and unwind the legs and just observe what it feels like in neutral. What do you observe on the right side? What do you observe on the left side? Do you notice an opening in a sort of diagonal pattern across the shoulders and the hips? If not, no worries. And then when you're ready, you'll try the other side. So if the legs are straight, go ahead and bend the knees, plant the feet on the floor. Cross your left leg up and over the right thigh. Push into the right foot, lift your pelvis up and to the left and put your bum back down. And then very slowly let the legs fall over towards the right. And you're taking your time to notice how it feels for the bones to move over that right hip. Sometimes it feels like a hurts so good type of pain happening on that outer right hip. And then you'll start to adjust the shape. So you'll gently draw that left hip away from the left shoulder. It'll feel like you're arching your spine just a little. You'll then start to pay attention to the movement across the ribs, the abdominal region. You might then lift the right shoulder up and slide it slightly to the right, and notice if that allows more of the left shoulder blade to fall towards the floor. And then pay attention to what's happening in the throat. Does the gaze want to go over the right hand? Does it want to be more towards the center, up towards the sky? Or do you want to look towards the left hand? And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're observing. And as you pause and as you breathe and as you observe, just Notice whatever is there and allow it to be there to the best of your ability. Great. We've got about 4 to 5 more breaths on this side. And I encourage you to just notice where the breath wants to go, where it easily moves. And then I encourage you to notice where the breath doesn't seem to want to go, where the movement isn't as welcome. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you'll take a big breath in, you'll gently unwind, and you'll come back onto your backs. Re-square your bum underneath your shoulders. And then from here, once both legs are unwound, you're going to gently just draw your knees into your chest. Take a moment to pause there for just a couple breaths. You'll then bring your hands to the draw the soles of your feet together, bring your hands to the outside edges of your feet, and let your knees open wide. Now in this shape today, press your feet together, pull your feet towards your face, and I want you to stick your behind you. So really it feels like you arch your low back. And as you arch your low back, notice how both sit bones are. Can you evenly weight the right and the left sit bone? You're good, Jason. Onto the floor. And then notice what that does to your neck. So you're arching your back, you're still hugging your feet towards your face, and you're noticing what's happening in the neck and the shoulders. And then I want you to see as those knees are widening super far to the right and the left, can you breathe across the pelvis and on the inner groin? And some of you will stay right here feeling like this is a fun stretch. Some of you will draw your right sole of the foot up towards the floor, right knee alongside the right side of your body for a half happy baby. And the right foot is super active. You're breathing on that right inner thigh, right hip, wherever you're feeling the sensation for this half happy baby. And then you're noticing again what happened to your sacrum. You're noticing what happened to your neck. You'll take a couple more breath cycles here, and then you might switch sides and try the other half happy baby. And again, you're paying attention to that pelvis. So the reason we spend so much time starting from the pelvis is because it is our foundation. Our sacrum literally is our sacred bone. And it's hard for us to be in alignment, either physically or, metaphorically, if our base isn't sound, if our foundation isn't set. So we spent all this time focusing on that and stacking everything else up on top of it. Awesome. After you've done both of your half happy babies, you might try a full happy baby. You might feel that there's something else that feels like it's calling to you. And if so, by all means, go ahead and explore that. And then when you feel complete, you'll gently draw yourselves up to sit. So I encourage you to roll to a side before you do that. Okay. And those that are still doing things, you still do things. We're going to set up for our final breathing shape in a number of ways. So some of you might just go back to that blanket and set up the exact same way that we started with. Some of you might wish to have a bolster, a pillow, something that's thicker, and then one of your blocks. And you would lay your rib cage on that pillow. And again, the front ribs and the back ribs are hanging off, and then the block will support the head at whatever height feels appropriate to you. Okay, and when you lie down, you want to make sure that the backs of your ribs are on that support, whether it's a pillow, block, blanket, whatever it is. You want to make sure that your head is at a height where it doesn't feel like your chin is jutting up too much. It doesn't feel like it's dipping in too much, but it really feels like it can stay long. And then you can open the arms out in whatever way feels good to you. And again, you're paying attention to how it feels like the shoulder blades come onto the back to support the opening of your heart space. Great. And as we find ourselves in this final shape, hopefully the heart feels like it's supported. Hopefully the collarbones feel wide. I want you to just take a few breaths, just big, deep breaths. And so you might just take a slow, deep breath in, and then a slow, audible, deep breath out. And you'll just do a few of those, literally just big, deep, conscious breaths in and big, deep, conscious breaths out. And then the next time you take a big, deep, conscious breath in, I want you to see if you can hold the breath at the top for maybe a couple beats, nothing that feels strenuous. And then you'll take a big, deep, conscious breath out. And you'll repeat that a few times. So it's just a slow, deep breath in. At the top of the inhalation, you hold the breath for a bit. And then you'll slowly let the breath exit. And you're working to make this as effortless as possible, as much of a oxymoron as that sounds like. The body knows how to breathe. We just have to get out of the way and let it do its thing. Okay, and then the next time you take that big, deep breath in, at the top, you'll hold it for a couple beats, maybe sip in a little bit more air, and then you'll slowly let the breath go. And you'll repeat that a few more times. Just slow, conscious, deep breath in. Hold the breath comfortably, softly at the top. Maybe gently draw in a bit more breath. And then slowly let it all go. And you'll just repeat that one more time. And this time, as you complete the breath cycle, and as you exhale, I invite you to bring your awareness to wherever you most easily connect with your breath. So some of you might find that you easily sense and feel the breath in the nose. Some of you might feel that you most easily sense the breath in the chest and the rib cage. Some of you might sense that you most easily feel the breath in the abdomen. Wherever it feels the most effortless for you to notice that you're breathing, I want you to go there. And for the next few moments, all we're going to do is just focus on the breath. If it helps to anchor the mind, as the body breathes in, you can just say to yourself, breathe in. As the body breathes out, you can say to yourself, breathe out. It is typical for the mind to wander, and so if it does, no worries. You just notice that, and you come back to your breath. And we'll just be here for a bit, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Gently return your awareness to your breath. And then take a brief moment to just check in and notice how you feel. Notice what you notice. If there's any part of you that's longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please hang out here. When you are ready to move on, you'll start to allow small movement to re-enter into your physical form. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, you'll gently roll off to one of your sides and stay there for a couple breaths. From there, those on your sides will start to come up to a tall and comfortable seat. And then you'll just take a moment to sit well. Maybe the gaze is still closed down and inward or gently resting on the floor, but we'll once again stick your behind you. Soften those front ribs in towards the spine and down towards the pelvis. Notice the sliding of the shoulder blades slightly onto the back and down the back body. And then notice the lifting of the sternum, the gently pressing back of the skull, and any softening of tension around your jaw. We'll complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Bring your hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of the thumbs into the sternum, and then allow the sternum to press into the thumbs. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. To that light and to that breath and to that sound we bow. Namaste.